Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 20th Theorycrafting Roundtable podcast. I'm your host, Artesians, and today I'm actually joined again by our wonderful co-hosts, Ayzel, Tenten, Zajef, but we have a special guest today. You might know her from the pronunciation videos, or maybe you've listened to some of her music. Ying. Yeah. So let's go around real quick and catch up with each other. Ayzel, how have you been for this past week?
Pretty busy because of school. In terms of Genshin, I've been playing the Lantern Rite event. I finally got around to doing some of the story quests because I don't tend to do them too frequently, but since they were prereqs for the Lantern Rite, I decided to do the Ito story quest, which I liked a lot, and some of the other story quests, which were as good as the Ito story quests, but still pretty enjoyable.
Nice.
Beans.
All right, Tenten, how have you been?
Good. I did nothing. Okay. Thanks a lot for asking.
Zajef, how have you been?
I've been just peachy, man.
Just peachy?
Yeah, I'm at like Constellation 12 on my Xinyan now on my free-to-play account.
I saw that.
It's great. I mean, like that account has like less than half the 4 stars. Who would I like to have on my account more than a C12 Xinyan? Like, it's just I'm so incredibly happy about it. It's hard to put into words, actually. I don't think words exist to describe just how grateful I feel.
That's a really good question. I can't actually pick another character I'd want 12 constellations of, other than Xinyan.
Xiangling.
That's amazing. And of course, Ying. Can you introduce yourself to our podcast listeners?
Hi.
Like, what are you known for? How much you do? Or
I guess
I'm
known for the Liga character pronunciation guide, perhaps a little against my will, but that is the legacy, and I will accept it. I'm a streamer, content creator, photographer, vocalist, whatever. The list goes on a bit, but I like to have fun on the internet and do goofy things. That's kind of it. I've been on actually kind of a Genshin lull, but then Scaramouche pulled me very violently back, and I finished my first battle pass in like half a year last month because I was feeding the boy.
Okay. And I guess I'll introduce myself as well. Should have done that first. No script. It's so bad. I'm Artesians. I'm your host. I am the head of Theorycrafting at Kachingmains, but I'm very much well acquainted with everyone here. So let's just kind of hit the ground running. For Ying, how hard, I guess, do you really play Genshin? Do you like? You said you just caught up with Wanderer, so like, do you just like watch maybe a couple videos here and there? Maybe watch like the trailer reels for like characters?
Yeah. I don't consume a whole lot of Genshin content unless it's coming from my friends, and that's mostly out of curiosity and like to support my friends. So I keep up with Genshin for sure, just because my personal friend circles are very on top of the main story quest, so I have to at least catch up with that much if I want to not be spoiled by their casual conversation. And that's my main propelling force in keeping me on the game. Otherwise, I would take it much easier, I think. Also, I guess as a streamer, like it's a little, I literally can't even scroll my TL on Twitter without getting spoilery note if I don't properly keep up on at least the main story quest. So that's like kind of it. I gave up on dailies a long time ago, and I mean, it's a product of the beauty of being on the Genshin content creator program is they do pay us in primos, and so I don't feel the need to be like doing the dailies. Like the time I spend doing that isn't really worth it. So I'm more likely to show up and spend my resin than I am to show up and do my dailies. Yeah. But I don't, in short, I don't play Genshin that hard. I don't consume a whole lot of like theory crafting content. I don't really even watch Genshin content on YouTube. Like once in a while, I'll watch maybe a lore video or a lore theory video. I do watch all of their character demos and trailers, but that's like, like official channel stuff I'll watch. I love the Hoyo Fair stuff, for example, but not a whole lot of like fan-made content. Fan songs, that's about it, yeah.
And how about like the rest of y'all? Do you guys actually watch like a lot of Genshin content?
I guess I watch a decent bit. Usually it's more theory crafting oriented, of course, because I think it's just good to have a pulse on what people believe. to be good and bad and what they think about certain characters. As because like I produce some theory crafting stuff, gotta keep on top of that. But I also really enjoy watching lore stuff, as Ying said. Ashikai is a channel that I very much enjoy watching her content. And I think there are some really cool like CN made things as well that we can get into later. Like the CN side makes like amazing like fan made content, like fan songs and whatnot. So that's also very interesting to look into.
I actually did I ever share with you all the way I found Tenten originally was because he was like doing those almost like live translations of the Abyss speedruns that the CN side was doing. I was like fascinated, and that was my first time coming across a Tenten video. That is some good shit. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Oh,
You're perfectly fine.
Yes,
What?
don't worry.
Really?
Okay, got it.
It's been more than 30 seconds. It's all right.
Oh,
I think
got it.
YouTube doesn't care after that. What about you, Tenten? You watch a lot of Genshin content? I think you do the review of like the Genshin League, like Ying was saying. But how much do you really watch Genshin stuff?
I've been watching Zajef a lot. Most notably, recently there's this YouTube 1 hour compilation of just Zajef talking about Xiangling. So I purposely didn't watch it past its first like 5 seconds to purposely save it for content reason.
Oh my god.
Content brain.
Zajef, I think you do a little bit of reviewing of Genshin content.
Not really anymore.
Not so
I
much
kind of
anymore.
just avoid Genshin content like the plague.
And why? Why so?
I don't like avoid it that much, but
You don't seek it
I
out.
don't really have much that I'm interested in when it comes to Genshin content. Like, Theorycrafting content isn't gonna teach me anything new because, like, it's pretty rare that someone like makes a video about something before it's talked about in like Theorycrafting Discord servers or stuff like that. So like, if there's a new discovery, I'll probably hear about it before it's made into a video. So I don't really need to keep up on the like Theorycrafting side. And then I already play way too much Genshin, so I'm not gonna like play more Genshin in my free time outside of stream. So
I
kinda
personally,
I have had my fill already. I don't need more.
I personally like watching Zajef77's videos. That guy's great.
Mm.
I personally like to repeat all of his opinions as my own.
Love that.
Actually, how do you feel like when you see Theorycrafting content when it pops up on your timeline? Like, for me personally, I like to, I don't know, it's like a morbid curiosity, I guess. Like after like the early stage of Genshin where all the information was so
Wrong?
interesting. I'll say interesting. In harsher words, wrong, I guess. But yeah, how do you guys feel?
Oh, you know what I got on my recommendation recently? A gacha gamer tier list from originally 2 years ago.
Oh.
I almost wanted to click on it just to watch it again. It was pretty funny. But it does have 5 million views though, so
Oh my god.
it popped up on my recommendation. It's interesting to see. Like open a time relic.
I guess it could be interesting to just see like what people thought so long ago, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like an era last, and I think the novelty of just like, oh, we used to think Bennett was bad. Like, I feel like that just kind of gets old fast.
True. I don't know what my
I
YouTube recommendation is.
I actually recently found a new Genshin content creator that actually explained like elemental gauge theory like literally perfectly without any errors or anything like that, and it was visualized so perfectly. So that was pretty nice. Maybe I'll watch some more Genshin content, but I don't know if I can really stomach seeing like people get something wrong, like super wrong, and then people in the comments just eating it up. So this is one of the questions that we have scheduled actually, like how much do we really see each other, I guess? How much do we see each other's content? Have you guys heard of Ying before? I personally am like a huge fan.
Like,
Yeah. Relatable. Understandable. Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah. Which videos have you seen,
dude,
Tenten? Tell me.
I'm just gonna put it this way. I am very intimidated by you all.
Really?
Since jumping in this VC, if we had one of those like heart rate monitors on stream or whatever, like you would see me at a
What?
cool 150. Yeah.
Damn.
I don't know. I think I guess to kind of answer your last question too, like I feel like the theory crafting community is so far beyond me. Like it's not at all how I play Genshin, at least. There are other games where I've gotten highly into the technical details, but Genshin is not one of them. I play it for the story and the characters. But I have so much respect for the TC community and also a healthy amount of fear because TC content creators have a tendency to be very like absolutist. Like there is a mathematical absolute truth, and so that's like how certain things, many things are presented. And to me, who plays this game as a filthy casual, I'm sitting here like afraid to open my mouth when you guys are around. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's okay.
What if I
No.
say something wrong? They're going to torch me. Like that's the kind of vibe. So I'm
That is
filled
exactly
with
what we're going
fear.
to do. Yes.
That's exactly what we're gonna do here.
Pitchforks, the works.
I think
yeah.
that's like the part I want to understand the most. To kind of add on to that, I think part of it is because the Genshin community are always so fixated on like a certain aspect that we kind of know is wrong, especially like the old concept, like don't C6 you're banned, and then we're like,
that's a pet peeve
and,
of mine.
and then we're just like so many people still have that idea, and then we have to go so far and hard to kind of correct it, right? So it feels that way, I think.
But I think that's the thing is like the effort of going far and hard to correct things. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, why not just let them think the wrong thing? Like, it always shocks me how much you guys care. It's like impressive to me. I would never get that invested, I think, in because it's really about the community.
I mean, that's an interesting
Yeah.
question. Like, what are your like biggest pet peeves, I guess, about TC content? And then I guess we could give it back the other way, and why we do it.
I mean, I don't actively avoid TC content, and I do intentionally seek it out when I'm trying to build a character, right? Like I'm like, all right, like give me the lowdown real quick of like how to build the Goro that I just rolled, right? It's not something I avoid, but also when I see it show up on the TL, and it's usually because like as a content creator, I'm surrounded by fellow content creators, many of whom are TCers. I'll see like arguments go down, like discourse, and people like. To me, at least, the way I see it is like a very aggressive kind of a tone. Like it feels like you're force feeding people information that they didn't necessarily look for in lots of cases. And I think some of this is just a byproduct of it. Like y'all are just on your personal accounts. Like this isn't your content, right? You're just having an open discussion. But as an outsider, I'm like, wow, everything. I'm like that GIF where it's like the dude walking into the room holding the box of pizza and everything is on fire. That's how I feel when I see TC threads and discussions on my Twitter timeline.
Oh,
So.
I think a lot of that.
Mostly my Twitter. Yeah.
A lot of that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you can go.
A lot of that frustration is Genshin. At the end of the day, like it's a gacha game. It's designed to get you to gamble and to get you addicted to gambling. And so seeing like bad advice being put out there is very frustrating because you know that once people follow that bad advice and still can't solve the problem that they were trying to fix and the reason why they seeked out the advice in the first place, they'll be left thinking that, well, I tried the thing, it didn't work, so my only solution is to spend money.
That's relatable, yeah.
And it's like, it is a very, very, like, when you are in TC communities, it's something that you don't see quite as much anymore because, like, people that are in TC communities generally know a little bit about TC, at least to some extent, a little tiny bit. But, like, within casual players, there are a lot of people that think that the only way to clear things is to spend money. Like, if you go through, like, Envy cleared 36 stars with only the starter characters, like, a few days ago, and if you go through the comments on that tweet, like there's a lot of people that just think he's lying or think he was using 5-star weapon. Like there is very much this perception that you have to spend money to get good results, and that it's the only way to do it. And so when seeing bad advice that ends up like people follow that advice, and it reinforces that belief that the only real way to fix their account is money,
Right.
it's just it sucks. Like I
Yeah.
feel bad for the people that are getting misled into this, and at least that's why I get this this desire
Riled up.
to interject to say something.
Yeah, that's
about
actually
it.
something I hadn't considered at all, was that the fact that this has, because the way I see it is like, I'm a filthy casual. Like, nothing I do in this game has any real world impact on me. But what you've pointed out that I hadn't thought about is that bad advice can actually lead people to spend money, right? Irresponsibly or perhaps misinformed. And that actually does have real world implications. I hadn't considered that particular part. I can see why that would be really aggravating.
Yeah.
It's like if I saw someone give bad cooking advice or bad tax advice on the timeline.
Yeah,
I would also
that's
like
the
to-
advice.
too.
Oh god.
But yeah, it's
Okay.
like, and especially when the advice is just like, you need to pull for this character, or
Yeah.
this new character is the most broken thing. Like, wow, big power creep, woohoo! And it's just like, yeah, like you're feeding into the FOMO. You're feeding into the really fucking shitty marketing strategies that mobile games use.
I
And
mean,
it's
it
just,
works, doesn't it? Yeah.
It works. It does, and I think that's frustrating. I don't
I know,
think.
I agree. It sucks.
Yeah.
I just want to like
I
jump in real quick
don't-
before you go, Tenten. Just to clarify, Ying, when we make all of us here, when we make content like TC content, it's not to berate anyone for playing the way they do. I think TC over time has gotten a pretty good handle on like stratifying our content for like different levels of play. So like even if you're casual, we can teach you how to like, you know, what artifacts, what weapons generally to throw on your character. But yeah.
Like the
Go
build
ahead,
guides
Tenten.
that I follow are very
Yeah.
accessible even to people who aren't thinking that hard, right? Like, oh, okay, I just put Favonius on this guy and I'm fine. Like it's quite simple, and if you want to dig deeper, I do appreciate the striations. I think what I'm referring to mostly is like, because the way you phrased the question was like when you see it on your timeline, right? And I think that's very different from intentionally created for certain audiences type of TC content. Like the casual banter and back and forth that happens between members of the TC community is a very different vibe than like stuff that you've intentionally crafted for certain types of people.
I completely understand that.
I'll add to that. I think a lot of people just generally get very easily misled by content in general. I don't really know how to put it, but like, and I know this from a very personal example because when I was in Hong Kong, I was playing on my phone, and then I was playing Yomiya with Yolanda scene chips, and I was just doing my daily, and I would just spam left click, and everything would just die. And then my sister look at that and be like, "Wait, Yomiya is so strong. I should pull Yomiya." And then I'm like, no, because well, one, I'm doing overworld content, so yeah, everything is dying in 1 second, but doesn't really mean the character is strong. There isn't actually a correlation there. But two, the real strong thing about the thing is the Xingqiu Yolanda behind it, not necessarily the Yomiya part itself. So that was like a personal example, but I'll also say like it pop up in my YouTube recommendation once in a while that there are videos of people like, oh my god, people say Sino is bad, and then the video will be like Sino clearing the abyss in 1 minute. Now when we say, let's say we say Sino is bad, right? We don't really mean he can't clear the abyss, and there isn't like a strong relationship between you clearing the abyss and the character being strong. What we mean is like this character isn't as effective as other character that you can potentially wish for instead, but people would see or like, oh my god, they're wrong. Sino's actually super meta, he's super strong, and people would see that and be like, oh, he's so strong, let me wish for him too, right? Without considering like, you know, there are stronger characters, or maybe that video might not be the performance that they're gonna get. So
yeah, and I feel like there does exist a class of content creator or a type of content creator that intentionally stokes those kinds of flames, right? Like they're not necessarily TCers themselves or non-TCers or whatever it is. I don't know what those buckets are, but like they are there literally to fan the flames and like start discourse. And I feel like it's frustrating also for me, not even as a TCer, to see it when it happens based on like misinformation.
Yeah.
Ayzel, how about your origin story, your villain origin story? Why did you start TC?
My villain origin story.
Your Joker arc.
I am the villain here. Yeah. I guess
I
just to
think
provide a
Bennett's
little
good,
bit of-
and I'm pretending. I'm tired of pretending he's not.
Yeah, I think just to provide some like additional context or explanation on top of what Zajef and Tenten have said. I think for me, like, I guess just real quick origin story. I didn't actually get into TC because I wanted to like save people money or whatever. I got into TC because I just liked finding bugs in the game. Like I originally joined KQM because I found this weird bug with Xiangling where you could stack your pyro NATO multiple times and just deal tremendous amounts of damage. But I think right now I still I guess enjoy doing TC to some extent, kind of because of what Zajef has said. I do like making sure that people are using their characters optimally. They don't feel like they're pressured to pull. And I also think that maybe there can be a disconnect to some degree between like TCers and people who consume TC content, in that TCers will generally make judgments or value statements about character. And that's not really intended to say you shouldn't roll for this character, or that like if you play this character, you are playing the game wrong, but it can get interpreted that way. And that's not really the fault of like either side. I think it just kind of boils down to miscommunications on both ends to some degree. And it is kind of difficult because like I think a lot of TCers, especially like Art and I, who have been doing this for like years now, we're just really used to these value judgments about characters. It's not really anything special. It's not like a personal attack or anything, but to people who are maybe consuming TC content for the first time or aren't that familiar with it, they might see X person says Y character bad as X person says I am bad because I rolled Y character, which is not like our intention.
It's a very classic case of like, have you ever seen like a tweet from a small account leave its social circle? That kind of thing all the time.
You mean the microphone tweet account, or like you don't need $1,000 microphone to be a content creator?
Oh god, the mic tweet. Oh, that was a tiring day for me. Tiring 3 days.
I think I have an interesting question actually, specifically for Ying, because I know she play a lot of gacha game, and I'm not gonna even list all of them. Ensemble Star, Love Live, Twisted
I'm
Wonderland.
getting called. I don't play Love Live.
Okay, okay, maybe read this, but I think the question I have here is because I think the rest of them actually have never played other gacha game before, and I have.
Really?
This is slanderous, okay? I'm hopelessly addicted to gacha.
I learn about a new gacha game every time I see a Ying tweet on my timeline. Like it's crazy.
It's crazy.
How did this happen?
So I came from FGO, and it's interesting because in FGO there's a super meta tier list that is like these characters are absolutely broken, which is namely like the big three, like Merlin, Sahi, or whatever. But it's interesting because in FGO there are a lot of TC as well, because they're super broken characters and super meta team. But when a character that new one come out and people are like, this character sucks, everyone's like, yeah, I know, but I like this waifu anyway, so I play it. Like the TC community in FGO actually get along really well with the waifu community, because everyone just like, yeah, I love how
you just call them the waifu community. I love it.
Yeah, because everyone just like, oh, my character sucks, whatever, I'm gonna play it anyway. But I'm glad you told me this character sucks, so I don't get baited or something like that. It's not that like that in Genshin, right? So I guess the question here is, do you have a similar experience when it comes to all the other gacha games that you play?
I mean, I would agree that the FGO is the norm, right? Like we know what the good cards are. It doesn't mean I'm gonna care, but like you're going in with your eyes wide open, and I feel like that is my experience of Genshin. Actually, is that like I appreciate the TC community existing because you all have provided these like crazy tools out there that we like, the damage calculators and things like that are really fun once in a while for me to like mess around in, and the build guides and whatnot. And it's like helpful for someone like me who doesn't want to think about it to offload that kind of thing and work to someone else. But like I just feel like there is, as Tenten pointed out, there's a divide somehow, like in Genshin, that like the so-called waifu community, as you just
really does run so much deeper
really
in Genshin.
offended for some reason, and in other communities I just don't see that happening. We just like I appreciate knowing. Thanks for telling me. I'm gonna roll her anyway, but like I appreciate the heads up.
It's actually only Genshin.
Yeah, there's something about I think it's because Genshin's so big.
I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that early content creators saw that and like capitalized on it and made a lot of clickbait content meant to divide just because that gets a lot of clicks, and it kind of just stuck around.
You think it was an intentional cultural?
Well, it wasn't like intentional in the sense of like they wanted to have that be the thing today, but more so like it was a natural consequence of some content creators just capitalizing on the easiest clickbait that they could think of at the time.
And now it's like a self-perpetuating thing where people just talk about like TC community versus casuals or whatever.
Yeah, because like
fake dichotomy.
Yeah, because like as a theory crafter, like you'll have people like saying that you deserve death because you
What?
say that a character is bad, and then you'll be like, well, you know,
E word.
sometimes the casual community can get pretty toxic, and I'm not a huge fan of that. And then like casual players who are not toxic are going to see that and they're going to be like, well, I'm not like that. Why is he flaming me? What the fuck is
Yeah.
wrong with this guy? This
Well,
guy.
I think that's what Tenten and I are saying is like only Genshin has that kind of a divide
Only
to begin
Mhm.
with.
But yeah, like you said, it's almost self perpetuating, and so it's because it started like that, it's just staying.
Mm.
Mhm.
I
There
still think
might
it's because it's
be-
a wider community. Like it
Yeah,
just
like
attracts-
that might also be a part of
Yeah.
it.
I think it might
could
be
also-
because.
Mm.
Oh, go ahead, Ayzel. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say specifically about FGO. I think that the reason why you might see less of a divide in FGO is because there is more of a like objective way to measure characters in FGO. And I'm not sure about other gacha games because I've only ever played FGO and Genshin. But in FGO, like if a character enables you to 3-turn like this node or something, then they're a good character. And like there are objectively characters who can and can't like reach the thresholds in order to achieve the goals that you want in FGO. And because they are so objectively able or unable to do something, then there is a very clear way to determine whether a character is good or bad. You can show like in a clip, I was able to do X with this character or I was unable to do X with this character. And in Genshin, I think the possibility of hyper investing characters, of rolling like Arc 5 or whatever, makes it so that it's a little bit more difficult to make those determinations. And plus, like in Genshin, you have like more freedom in how you play your teams.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it could definitely be like, well, maybe this character isn't this good, but I'm playing them really well. I'm showing them off in a very nice light in my video, which makes people think that they're good. But you can't really do that as easily in maybe another gacha game where this character is just objectively going to be unable to reach like some sort of goal that you want. So I think that could also be a definite part of it.
There's a wider variety of like playstyle essentially. Like, are you playing for the story first, the characters first, the exploration? Are you playing for the damage numbers, right? Like these are all different pieces of the Genshin product, right? Like they've marketed it to a bunch of different user groups essentially. Whereas in other gacha games, there tends to be one primary thing that everyone's there for together. Like in Twisted Wonderland, right? I'm there for the story, for the writing, and like most people are there for the characters and the way they're written. We don't actually, there's endgame content where you can like flex your damage or whatever, but nobody actually cares, generally speaking, as a larger community about that. Nor does it have a particularly large content creator community to like stoke those flames. So I think only
beat us first.
I mean, I think Zajef kind of hit it right on the head. It's been interesting as someone who's been here like from the beginning to watch how the narratives have kind of played out. Specifically, like it kind of ties into how I started Theorycrafting, what motivates me to kind of run KQM. So like way back, I don't know if anyone really remembers, like back in 1.0, 1.1, there was an idea that you had to have a pyro unit to clear the abyss. Because the bonus back then was like 75% pyro damage or something. And I got baited into pulling Klee because I watched a content creator pull Klee and do like maybe 3 times as much damage as I did then. And I think this idea that like you need certain characters, or that the abyss is kind of hard, and that the complex like combat system in Genshin, like you need your artifact gearing, your talent levels, how elemental reactions work, like all of this kind of took a while to really get figured out. But in the meantime, we were getting content that kind of really drove a huge divide between people, and kind of seeded the idea like, yeah, you need this character to do this, or if you don't have this character, your account's bad. And this is all kind of exacerbated even more by like how difficult the abyss is now, and like the fact that people kind of also play the game for not clearing the abyss like at all.
I don't play the abyss.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I was about to ask if you even play the abyss.
I'll go through a level, floor 11 if I feel like it, like on a good
but you don't go for show at all.
I'll try it if I'm vibing, but usually no. Tiring.
you know what? I can't even blame you. I did that for the last abyss. I did like a 2-star clear of like the last
Man, fuck
the
the
last
Yeah, like a
Wolf
single run
floor
through.
12.
God.
Yeah, I hate the Wolf Lords so much.
It's a game of trade-offs for me. I'm an economist at heart. Like if
I
the
actually have a-
opportunity cost of the half an hour I'm spending trying to clear floor 12 is better spent taking a nap, I'm going to choose the nap.
I have a quick question actually.
Ooh.
Do you spend much time at all on the Chinese side of Genshin?
Not a lot. I think Tenten spends a lot more than I do.
I just kind of wondered, like, is there like a big difference between the mentality of like how the game is treated in like Asia versus
I
here?
haven't followed, like, I'm not on like Weibo, for example. I don't even know where they're talking about this. I assume maybe bitty bitty comments. I like don't know where the community lives.
Mm-hmm.
Tenten, do you know?
They're like
why are you trying to find
everywhere.
out where they live?
I would say there's a very specific place for TC, so that I just go there, which is the
That's the
NGA.
forums, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the forum. But I don't go to like Weibo. I do, but not
Yeah.
that often. Because like,
I'm guessing Weibo is probably where you see the like the
it's more
larger
casual.
community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot more casual, but I don't really care about that aspect, so I just don't go there.
Yeah.
Like I know where to look for the stuff I want.
I mean, I've seen like a huge range of content from the Chinese side. Like you have like
It's
people
a lot, yeah.
drawing over anime openings, Genshin characters, like rotoscoping, like Genshin like Genshin anime openings. But
Live
like I
action
also
movie.
see like hardcore like League of Legends style ban phases and like pick and bans for like a competitive tournament.
That's the one I saw Tenten's narration for.
I've also seen like on the Japanese side, there's also a little bit of divide there as well, where I think there's a narrative that like the Japanese side really doesn't care about meta at all, and they play a lot of things for like how cute a character is or like how pretty they are. Like they really recently there was a character that they really didn't like, so that sales are really bad or whatever. But there is a small Japanese TC thing as well. They're like the second most like the largest user base for like one of the most advanced theory crafting tools, surprisingly.
Like a wider distribution somehow.
Our simulator, our Genshin Combat Simulator, the second largest user base is Japanese people.
Really? Is it not China?
Yeah, it's Japan.
Wait, but I see so many people in China using it too.
Oh, maybe.
But they also
maybe
have
it's
their own
changed.
calculator. They start using DZ a lot, but I know they have their own calc, so maybe they use it. I don't know.
Okay.
They do, yeah. Chinese assumptions, they kind of just do TC kind of differently. I remember they have like different standards. They assume like
they assume signature
/ whale. Yeah, they assume like R1 signature weapon. I don't remember the exact list because I don't read CNTC that often, but they do things differently. Maybe that's just because the CN side is more like whale oriented or something. I'm not entirely sure. But it's interesting to examine the differences between the two communities because I think it is like it does show, I guess, the different focuses that they have.
And I think your point about the Japanese side being somehow more focused on like the attraction of the character or whatever is a reflection, I think, of the more normalized aspect of gacha games in their like culture, right? Like for a lot of people, Genshin was their first ever gacha game, and that's not going to be as true in Japan.
Okay.
I think Ying can speak to this, but Asia just spend more money on gacha game.
Wait. Oh yeah.
Wait,
like
in general, they spend significantly more on gacha games.
It's just like more of a norm to play gacha games.
I mean, Tenten, you went to Japan recently, right? You said that they were playing it on the train and everywhere.
Yeah, they're playing Genshin.
That's so much fun.
Oh, also like ads everywhere. Like a billboard in the train, so
I don't think I've ever seen one except for when the one time we went to Anime New York City.
Right, and that's like a conference ad that's like different.
Yeah, that's different, right? Targeted marketing. In Asia, it's like everywhere.
Okay. If you guys don't mind, would you guys like to jump into the elemental tier list, actually?
A Genshin bus. Yes.
Where?
Yeah. It's on my YouTube somewhere.
Actually,
yeah. I mean, there's a Genshin plus, yeah.
Did you guys catch that? If you don't mind, do you guys want to jump to the element list?
Oh, sure, yeah. This is that.
All right.
So we had something fun prepared today.
Yes. So last week we rated all of the Genshin like Sumeru units, like anyone that came out after 3.0. And that was pretty fun. Mostly because we were on a time constraint, but it was kind of a rapid fire way to kind of pick people's brains about how they think. And today we actually did an element, I guess, tier list, but we also posted a Twitter, KQM_official. We also posted a poll and had people vote on what they thought the best element was. If I can pull that up as well.
You know what we should have done, Art?
What's up?
We should have done like multiple polls, like almost
like a tournament style.
so that we
Yeah.
could have an actual ranking from 1
You're
to
right.
8.
You're right.
That
I'll
was
keep that in mind
smarter.
next time.
Reagan's
'cause
gonna win somehow.
I think we want to. I think we want to do this more often. Like just pick like something that's kind of controversial and then pick people's brains about it. So if you look at the stream or pull up Twitter or however, this is how the poll kind of ended up for.
Wait,
for
I'm the
the
only
ranking.
person who think Pyro's better than Cryo. Monka.
So for the Twitter ranking, Hydra ends up being the best, and then I think Geo does end up being worse just by the number of votes. And then yeah. So any comments here? Is there anything surprising you see here?
I'm looking at Ying's answer and I'm curious, are you ranking them based on the one you like? Because I know you like Anemo Boys. So
I
is
do
that why you
like
put
Anemo
Anemo-
Boys.
Is that why you put Anemo at the top?
Actually, no. Well, no, that probably is true. That probably is true.
Wait, are you? I'm surprised. Like, I'm thinking, like, are you looking at this list and be like, why is everyone else? It's like one of those exam, right? Why is everyone else the same answer except me?
Get out of here. I mean, I have very logical explanations that basically have to do with ease of play for me, or
Oh,
fun
that's
of
no
play.
problem.
See, now that's interesting. See, yeah, that's now interesting. Anyway, we can get into the list.
So at the top of everyone's list is Anemo, either first or second. I mean, I kind of interesting that the Twitter poll actually sees that Hydro is the best element, and then a lot
I actually originally had Hydra and Cryo switched here, which would have brought me a lot closer to you all.
Oh, it's no problem.
That is,
This is really interesting.
Yeah, you got it wrong, Ying. Like you should be ashamed of yourself.
True.
I'm just thinking about
I
my
hate
reason
casual
for switching
players.
it, and it was literally Chi-Chi greater than Barbara. Like that's what happened in my brain.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
go. I mean, if anyone wants to take on Anemo or maybe Ying, if you want to explain like how you kind of evaluated every single one of your slots or anything like that, really.
Well, this was pretty hard. I think physical at the bottom was really easy for me because I literally just don't play physical damage at all. That's why Eula gets benched a lot of the time. And then Dendra's near the bottom because I'm still having trouble understanding it. Like I've like looked into it a little bit. It's so complicated. I'm like kind of intimidated, kind of just having fun watching things explode.
Boy, do I have the videos for you.
I don't know if I can make it through those videos because I've tried a few. And it's been a little bit challenging, so I'm just letting it be, which is why those two are near the bottom. One, I don't use physical and I don't understand Dendro, so those are at the bottom for me. I know Dendro has hella potential, I just don't get it yet, so I'm working on it. Geo's near the bottom because when I play Geo, I like mono Geo because everything's very sparkly and things go pa 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 pa, and it sparks joy. And much of what sparks joy in gameplay for me is like reactions and like things happening without me necessarily doing that much. So like Yae is a big love of mine because I can just like put her turrets down and stand around and watch things die. Especially if I throw in like a taser comp, like put in some Hydro, see what happens kind of a situation. So Electro and Anemo are near the top because I like their reactions to all elements. And Nemo in particular because of CC, which means I have to click less. Whatever helps me click less and watch things be sparkly is like, that's what sparks joy for me in combat. Like do big damage, be sparkly, low effort.
Do you
So that's
perhaps
why
own
Animo Ultra.
Nahida by any chance?
I'm actually not a Nahida haver. Wait, I am. I am a Nahida haver.
Okay. Are you an Alhaitham enjoyer, perhaps?
I'm an Alhaitham. I'm a new convert of the Alhaitham Church.
Maybe one of us will DM you and teach you the ways of Hyperbloom.
Oh, okay.
The
Training course.
the ultimate click things and they die, and it's very sparkly.
God, yeah.
Oh, that does
All
sound
right.
fun.
For the rest of us,
you wait until we get to curry and oven.
So if you're gonna fry someone's brain here. Okay. And the rest of us, our lists are like all the same. They're kind of boring.
Yeah.
Ayzel, explain yourself. Ayzel, explain yourself.
Yeah.
Animo over Hydro?
Animo over Hydro because I think hitting more things at once makes you do more damage.
Okay. And how about the rest of us? Hydro over Animo, why?
Hydro is used in every meta team comp in the game, for the most part. If your team doesn't have Hydro, it's most likely not meta.
I use Pure Pyro and I'm very offended.
I actually want to talk about Animo. I feel like that's a more interesting one to talk about. But yeah, Hydro just
Sure,
enable
I mean,
like everything in the game.
It's kind of hard to.
reactions.
I agree.
It's not fair.
It's Bloom and Vaporize and Freeze and Electric Charge. Like
It's kind of hard to really talk and jump into this because all our list is so similar. I guess Animo, why? I mean, we can go through them one by one. Animo, why is it so strong, right? Besides Pretty Boys.
I guess just because I put it at the top, I'll go first. The reason why I believe Animo to be strong, which is probably the reason that everyone else is going to give, is VV artifact set. It's important. It's pretty good. But I think more importantly than that, just having the grouping that Animo provides makes it so that you can just deal more effective damage. Because if enemies are grouped, you can hit more of them at once. And if you can hit more of them at once, you will do more damage. If you're hitting 2, that's more damage than 1. I think also a kind of like underrated aspect of Animo, it has to do with the grouping, but I don't think it's something that people really think about. Because when you have enemies that are far away from you, you have to run towards them, and then you can start dealing damage. And the running towards them, that like gap in time, especially in floors where like enemies will spawn very far apart, or they'll spawn different sides of the abyss. I think that like just takes up a lot of your time. And a lot of people, they have to like perform these like, oh, run to the left side of the abyss chamber so that you can like get all of the enemies to group up, and then you can start hitting all of them at once. Well, if I have Animo, I just don't need to do that. I can just press E on my Kazuha and then they're grouped already. I think that not having to spend that time specifically learning how to group enemies, or like there might just not be a technique to group enemies in that chamber, and not having to spend the time to like run to enemies or do whatever is just very valuable, because it means that you can spend more time dealing damage and less time like grouping / running towards enemies.
What a TC-oriented answer, man.
Okay, so I think I see this a lot of people talk about, and they're like, Animo is only getting carried by VV, and I think like, yeah, people underrate Animo a lot. First thing first, when we talk about Animo, we mean Sucrose, Venti, Kazo. Everyone else is like fake.
Oh, what the?
Second,
This is fake.
but pretty much what Ayzel said, but like I think people underrate the utility from Animo, in particular like either grouping or sporing. In particular, like in this abyss right now on the first chamber, second half, the enemy are so spread out and they all require elemental, and having Animo there is actually like insane. I think people often forget that, or maybe it doesn't even know. I'm actually gonna quiz Ying here, but like, did you know when you swirl an element on Animo, it's spread to the other character, enemy, right?
Yeah.
But do you know that spread is stronger than other application in the game?
What do you mean by other applications in the game?
The elemental gauge is stronger when you use an Animo to swirl an element rather than applying it directly. And-
wait.
Oh,
I think
okay.
you-
So that's the thing is, you guys were talking about elemental gauge theory earlier, and I was like, boy, that is a phrase that I do not know. I don't know what the
Yeah.
elemental gauge is.
You can think of it this way, okay? If you Bennett E on someone, they're gonna get hot. If you Unfeigned
Are they
normal
gonna get
attack,
hotter if I swirl the pyro
if you,
onto them?
if you unfeigned normal attack onto someone, they're gonna get a bit less hot because Bennett just applies more heat.
You know, this is actually
And
such a
then-
good
Oh.
thing.
Wait, so
you
you're
know,
And
saying
then
apply
swirl can make
what?
basically.
I
Swirl is
think
very
I
hot.
think we've lost her, guys. But I think this is like a good
You had me in the first.
good
half,
reason
not gonna
why
lie.
people kind of feel TC can be kind of out of reach. I sometimes it's just so hard to explain like something that
hard to
we
explain.
understand like very well, like in
I mean,
I don't know,
I can
understandable
give like
terms,
a
right?
quick little rundown, like a serious.
How quick
rundown
is
if you
quick?
want. Like a minute and a half.
That's not very
That's a
quick,
really-
Can you explain it like you explained quadratic smelling?
but
I
okay.
can figure something out. Yeah.
But yeah, I think people just often forget that anemo characters just have insane utility, and on top of the VB, which is like just too good. Part of me also still wanted to put anemo at the top over Hydro for the similar reason as Ayzel. But I was playing Lilo in the. Oh my god, people are going to complain about how I pronounce the name. But I was playing
Lilo.
I was playing Lilo in the Abyss, and even though she has good AoE, oh my god, playing without a grouper just actually dies of cringe.
Okay, I mean, how about we make this even easier for, like, I guess all of us? One, maybe 2 or 3 things that you kind of like about the element. Like, if you had to summarize these elements in, like, their most basic of terms, why they're good or why you like them, maybe that'll help. I guess for all of us, Animo grouping, Viridescent Venerer increases your damage, and then Swirl itself allows you to spread reactions really fast across a lot of enemies. I think that's what Tenten was trying to get across earlier. The most pure way to describe what's happening with the gauge stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think another thing that we can mention is that a lot of animo characters have the ability to absorb elements into like their elemental skill or their elemental burst, which allows you to apply more of an element with that animo character. Like Kazuha, he can absorb pyro into his burst, and then you can just apply more pyro. And you can control the absorption in many cases as well, which allows you to like play teams in more effective ways, I guess, because of the animo character.
It's like to me at least, it's other than Hydro, the ultimate flexibility element.
That's a very fair way to put it, yeah.
I think you're going even too far again, Ayzel.
Damn.
Oh, right. It was just
Unlucky.
supposed to be a few words of what we liked.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay, can absorb element. I'm done.
I don't even know if that's like a super important thing, honestly. Not to like rain on your
I
parade or
think
anything. It's just
in a lot of teams it can be.
yeah, but like I mean,
Might
if you were
want
to describe
make
like the
editing.
biggest things about it, right?
Animo is all about grouping and just. I mean, Animo is control. That's what it is.
Perfect.
Let me just pull out my hand lock real quick. Let me.
Adding.
It's just like you control things, and that's cool. You're
Okay,
in control.
Okay. And then I guess we can really skip through like these elements then. Hydro.
I think because I'm noticing that like we're basically all in the same order, like in groups of 2, with one person putting like an element above the other for each group. Like Ayzel has Animal before Hydro, I have Electro before Dendro, and Tenten has Pyro before Cryo. So we could like Ayzel explained why he's put Animal before Hydro. So I guess I could explain why I put Electro before Dendro, and then you guys can talk about that, and then Tenten can explain why you put Pyro over Cryo, and we can talk about that.
Yeah,
I also
can
want to
just-
get like Ying's
yeah.
impression in as well, because obviously like our expertise is like quote expertise is kind of lost to people that don't really interact with the combat system in a way that TC typically does, right? So yeah, I mean, why Hydro over Animo for the three of us, and then we'll go to Ying. If either of you want to start, Zajef, Tenten.
Yeah, sure. I just more and more with the release of Dendro, I think we're seeing so many more teams that are just so strong that even without grouping, they'll outperform teams that have, or at least perform somewhat similar to teams that have groupers in content where grouping is good. Just because it's making so many teams just stronger. And so with that, I think that the need for a grouper is a bit less present than it used to be. And
Okay.
so that kind of leaves more room for, well, just the strongest element outside of that grouping, and I think that's Hydro.
For me, it was pretty close, as I mentioned, but I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, what Zajef said. Especially with the way Nahida just covered the entire field, like, bruh.
For me personally, I actually don't think that it really matters which one you consider better than the other.
Yeah,
I think I pick
that's true.
Hydro
True.
just because I do more things with it. Like I can play freeze, I can play bloom stuff, I can play electrocharge, you know, all that good stuff. And then for Ying, like you said, your impression was kind of changed by how like wieldy it is. Could you maybe give us some insight why you think Hydro might be not so?
Oh, actually, to be very honest, Hydro was I wasn't too sure about this one. Like Hydro was originally where I have Cryo. So it was originally Animo, Electro, Hydro, and then Pyro, and then Cryo is where Hydro is.
Okay.
And then Dendro and Geo were flipped too. But honestly, because I use Hydro probably behind Animo the most, especially because I'm a big Xingqiu fan. Because I just like having Hydro applied to things. Like it's everything you guys already covered. It triggers so many reactions, and like I said, sparkly, easy type reactions. Like Hydro's easy to apply. It just gets everywhere somehow. And it seems to stick around longer. Maybe it's because I combine it with an Anemo, but from an applicability, usability, easy to reach for stance, Hydro is definitely my number 2 or 3. Like it's on par with Electro for me. Because my favorite comp is Taser comp, honestly.
Honestly, it really is refreshing to talk to people that don't do TC like often, because these kinds of insights kind of inform us like maybe where we should kind of explain things better. Like particularly Dendro, I totally understand how it can be super confusing. And to segue,
like I see the potential of Dendro, but I just haven't put in the time to like learn
You should
it yet.
try. Oh god, you should try it.
Yeah, everyone's like, "Oh, it's so fun," and I'm like, "I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet." All I know is Tignati cute.
And then Zajef, you put Electro over Dendro, and most of us here have Dendro over Electro. Any particular reason?
Yeah, I think that most of the good Dendro comps are Electro comps, and there's also a bunch of good Electro comps that are not Dendro comps. And there's my argument. I think people have a bit of a warped perception of how good Dendro is because Dendro's reactions are good, but the thing is, Dendro's reactions are also reactions with another element, and the best ones are with Electro. But Electro also has the other good reactions, like Electro charges being broken, and also just like some solid, like not mono element, but hyper stuff with Raiden and things like that. I just think that Electro is what carries Dendro. Dendro teams are very good, but they get carried by Hydro and Electro. So I'd put Electro above it.
Makes sense to me, honestly. I think for
I think that's
my
pretty
personal
fair,
ranking, again, it didn't really matter which one was going to be above the other one here. They're roughly like about the same utility for me, at least how I see it. Dendro's pretty easy to use, at least once you get like the basic mechanics down. So it's kind of why I put them there. And then Tenten and Ayzel.
I mean, I think what Zajef said is pretty fair. I think it's mostly just Electro before Dendro wasn't as great, so you can also argue the other way around, which is like Dendro carry Electro from to where it is now.
And that's just recency bias. Like that's
Yeah, it is
already
recency
played
bias.
it.
No, I 100% agree. Like I put Danger over Electro because of recency bias. I 100%
Our
agree.
new toy.
True.
I guess for my perspective on it, the reason why I put Dendro over Electro is while I agree that Dendro does require Electro and Hydro to work, in quotes, I don't think that just because you need to be played with another element, that they should be like, I guess, weighted equally. Like if I am playing a team with a Dendro and an Electro character, they require each other to some degree, of course, because I can't play like a Quicken team without both of those elements. But the fact that I can't play one without both those elements doesn't mean that like Electro is equally valuable to Dendro in that team. I think that in a lot of Dendro teams, Dendro is the most important element to the team, just because of it enables the most, it increases the team's potential the most. So while it is true that it does require Electro and Hydro to function, the fact is that Dendro contributes the most out of all three elements in like a Hyper Bloom team. So that's why I rate it higher. Like, I guess you can kind of see it as, I believe that like Dendro, like if you had to quantify like how much DPS they contribute to a team, I guess Electro would be like more than 50%, because you can't really like take one of the elements out and then like say like, if I take this element out, like how much DPS does the team do? Because like they're all reliant on each other. But if I had to like give it a number, I would say that Dendro gives it like the most, I guess.
Okay.
I think one of the biggest factors is Nahida just broken compared to every other character in the game
Wow.
for me. So
Wow.
Damn.
And then Ying, actually, is there any particular reason why you like Electro more? I think if I had to pick like my element based on like my favorite characters, Electro and Animo would definitely be at the top as well.
Mm-hmm. I think I was
Is it
thinking
fatal?
largely in terms of like what elements do I use the most, right? Which in my case is definitely going to be biased towards the characters I like. But honestly, like Xiao and Venti are my favorite characters. I pull out Kazuha 3 times more than either of them put together. And so Electro is kind of in the ballpark of like, I love Yae Miko and she comes out a lot because her playstyle also suits me because I put turrets down and things die, especially if I bring in other elements. So I just use it a lot. It's like a familiar element to me. And the characters that I play in this category are Shinobu, Yaemiko, and Knight and Shogun, right? So all three of them are really good at applying Electro all the time. It's like, just like Hydro, it's a very low fuss kind of element to me. And the characters that I have in those elements happen to be easy utility also.
Yeah. I have no complaints or anything, honestly. Like, typically when we talk about like, ranking these types of things, the motivation between each selection can be so subjective, and definitely depends on like our experience. Like for Cryo and Pyro here, I don't think anyone really is going to split hairs over why they would rate one thing over the other. I don't know. Maybe Tenten. Why would you put Pyro over Cryo? I guess.
Pyro over Cryo.
Yeah.
Listen up.
Yeah.
See, even theory crafters could be biased towards their favorite character.
No, actually, I mean, let's suppose you put your Hyper Bloom team on one side of the abyss. Would you not just?
I think Tenten put Pyro ahead of Cryo because I mean I've seen him play Ganyu.
Would you not just default to Bennett Shanling?
Tenten, I've seen you play Ganyu. I understand.
Huh?
But you don't like Bennett Shanling?
Yeah.
What? This Shanling hater.
I said, yeah. What do you?
Oh god.
Damn. We lost him. He's too addicted to Xiaoling. He needs to be.
All I have in my head is the Opa Xiangling again.
I mean, it's true. I think like better channeling is still one of the best combo in the game, so just naturally go there. That's it. That's pretty much it for me.
Okay, fair enough. So it's just selling bias is the answer
Wow.
to why Pyro is above Hydra. Sorry, not Hydro, Cryo.
And I think the rest of us, I could pretty quickly summarize it. Cryo lets you do freeze, but it's not so much of a damaging reaction or utility reaction compared to how much more the others can do, maybe, is why it's like right smack dab in the middle. And Pyro's kind of... Pyro's Pyro, right? Bennett being Pyro doesn't, do much in terms of pulling it over freeze and stuff like that. And then I guess for Geo and Physical, they're all pretty low on the list here. For everyone, I guess. Why do you think you put them down there? Or maybe what could make you put them higher? Or like, what do you think is missing about these reactions that like really kind of keeps you from loving them more?
Yeah, I guess. Tenten?
Go for it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the reason that I don't really like Geo specifically is because Geo is really just designed to be played with itself in most cases. Like Noel C6, like Ito are main Geo carries. Ningguang also exists, but we ignore her. But we tend to like mostly focus on Noel C6 and Ito as the Geo carries, and they really are mostly like you play them with other Geo characters because they need to be batteried. Because Goro is such a good support for them. And it just makes it really like not fun when doing team building. This is kind of the same criticism that I had of Nilo from last week, in that your team building is kind of constrained with Geo, not by mechanic like it is with Nilo, but rather by what the game it kind of is like pushing you towards. Like the game is pushing you to play Noel with Goro, maybe Albedo and Zhongli if you have them. Not necessarily, but it kind of is pushing you in that direction. You can play other stuff, but the fact that like this is what's best for them usually is kind of like boring to me, I guess.
So validated right now, because up front I was like, oh, Geo's at the bottom for me because I only play mono Geo teams, and I didn't know that was like, I guess, the meta.
Yeah, I mean that kind of is the meta for a lot of Geo characters. And it's just not really fun to just toss like all the Geo units I have in the team and be like, I'm done. I don't really need to like think about team building that much. I could just put all of these characters in the same team.
Hey, some people really love that, okay? I know
some people
it's fun.
Does. That, yeah.
It's sparkly.
Yes. It's wait, isn't it the opposite of sparkly? There's nothing.
No, it's
sparkly.
incredibly sparkly.
Have you ever played Albedo?
You know what it's like, right?
Albedo and Ito do have a lot of particles.
Flakes everywhere, basically.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, Geo is piss-colored physical, so it's just
Jesus Christ,
man!
I mean, it is.
Lord Almighty.
It is.
Wait, if you think about it, physical is technically better in Hyperbloom than Geo is.
Is it?
I'm calculating
not
the
your
gauge
reactions
in my
the
head
same way.
right now.
Yeah, it's not taking your Hydro.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you have a Dendro aura though?
But Geo is better in Burgeon because Geo helps weaken the burning aura just enough to still get blooms through your burning. So,
holy moly!
Hey, it's true. I've done some testing on it. It is true. It does help.
I mean, I would say something for physical, but I mean, Eula's best constellation is Nahida C2, and something about that really messes with your head. I don't know. Is there something like maybe you wish would happen with these reactions, or not reactions, but elements rather? Something, anything, anyone? I think.
Okay, my whole thing is Geo is forever doomed. When Dendro came out and that they still didn't change how it worked, I actually think Geo is just forever doomed. No Gappa.
Honestly, yeah, I don't think that Geo should be changed. In many cases, it is just a Unga Bunga toss these characters in a team and it will work. And I don't think that we should really change that. I think some people like that. And like, if Geo wants to be the Unga Bunga like don't have to think too much about team building element, then fine that way.
Dang. Gotta wait for the new element to save Geo and physical, guys. Unlucky. Okay.
Yes, let's wait for
We'll wrap this up here then, unless if you guys want to wrap up anything and say any final words about our element selection here.
Nothing in particular from me.
Can we talk about
Um,
Tenten's pronunciations now?
I don't know. Maybe for Ying,
I
are you surprised at all by like any of our justifications or anything? Is there like something that one of us might have said that kind of
No,
stands
I
out
just feel
besides
hella
the
validated.
piss-colored?
I'm sitting here like, maybe I'm not as dumb as I thought. You all said stuff and I was like, that's exactly how I play. Okay, all right. Guess I kind of go Dendro. Okay.
The combat
Very
system is
nice.
generally speaking fairly intuitive until you get to
Yeah,
Dendro.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. Well, with Dendro, all I knew is I don't know if it's necessarily a Hyper Bloom comp, but I knew to put Hydro, Electro, Dendro together because that's where I was seeing the most fun things happening. I
Yeah,
just didn't really understand it.
you should.
Yeah. They go.
Don't worry, we
Mhm.
can help you out.
Exactly. It
and-
was literally like whatever that is. It's going.
That's a pretty good description.
Okay. And then I guess we'll jump into something more lighthearted. In your famous Leeway pronunciation video, and I guess you said earlier that you didn't you think it was undeserved or maybe it was not expected. You know, that video has like 1.2 million views or something. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, not what I expected.
How is it dealing with that actually? Because I know on your channel you do like a lot of like fashion stuff. You do a lot of reviews of things like a cardigan that I personally bought as well
heck
and
yeah.
rock. You also do music. Like how is it? I don't know. I don't know if you like feel typecasted as a Genshin content creator or anything like that.
So I was talking about this with a friend of mine where I was like, I think every content creator has like a thing that they're known for. And that's just kind of because like the only way to really make it in the CC space, and I would argue I'm not even close to making it yet, but the only way to really make it is to have something really take off, right? And then to build on that momentum and snowball it a little. And so that's why every content creator in existence has like one, maybe two things that they're known for. Because that's the thing that like made them, that got their name out there. And so for that reason, I'm like, I don't mind it. I think it's actually pretty funny that people will roll into chat and be like, oh my God, wait, you're the person that made the pronunciation guide. And I'm like, that's awesome. I hope it was helpful for you. It's just, it's not what I expected is all. I had been on YouTube for a decade doing music before that video randomly took off. And now I get comments like, what, you can sing? And I'm like, baby, that is all I did for a decade. Like,
Have you ever talked
just
to
different.
anyone that's like tone deaf and tried to speak Chinese?
Oh, I don't think tone deafness has been the problem so much as just like control and understanding of the tones at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think tone deaf people
Yeah.
can still speak Chinese perfectly fine. Yeah.
I've met
It is
someone
very
that was like
difficult.
completely tone deaf. It's very difficult
It might be
for
harder.
my friend
Yeah.
to understand like the enunciation.
Uh-huh.
In Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, like anything that has tones, it's very hard for them to
Mhm.
understand whether you're going up or down. So it's quite interesting.
Mhm.
And I guess because Tenten is here as well, one of the
Meow.
most replayed sections in your Leeway pronunciation video is actually your pronunciation of Xingqiu, right?
Uh-huh.
Have you ever heard Tenten's pronunciations?
I thought I heard him say Sing Chu all the time, but I thought that was normal.
Yeah, see, it's
Sing
normal.
shoes.
Don't a lot of people say Sing Chu?
Yeah, don't a lot of people say sing shoes? It's
He
normal.
doesn't
Why you
say
guys
sing chu.
Also
He
speak
says sing
Mandarin,
choos.
Tenten.
Yeah, you specifically add the S at the end, Tenten.
Oh, he says Sing Chu's. Right. I mean, Tenten's just Tenten, you know? Like Tenten just says things.
True,
What
agreed.
what other things do you just mispronounce? Saw the other day someone was complaining about your pronunciation of Al-Haytham.
Oh, wait, that's how you say it? Oh, okay, I see. Noted.
Go. Do it.
How do you say it?
I say like, I think it's like Al-Hay. Al
All high ham.
All high ham.
It's like without a T.
He just
And-
forgot that the T existed.
No, I just didn't know how to pronounce the T, so I took it away. You guys ever watch that TikTok where like if you speak English, don't pronounce the T, like you don't say identify or something.
Identify. Oh, you swallow the T.
Yeah, see? So it's pretty normal. Agrees, true, understandable, relatable.
I feel like-
I don't think.
If you
that's
actually go
applicable in
quiet
this
during
case.
the if you go quiet during the T, you'll start to sound British. Like if
You
you
need
actually
certain type of
pause-
British though. Some of them are very
Actually-
British, you know.
No, I was actually
True,
born
true.
British. True.
Yeah, in order to sound British, it's either like pause a tiny little bit for the T and don't say it at all, or say it but like a lot.
Yeah. Over enunciate or take it away.
Yeah.
British.
Bottle of water and bottle of water, right?
Oh no. Okay, and then I guess
Yeah,
Zajef, you
just
do
British
you do a
defense.
little bit of the pronunciation game as well, but specifically for the Sumer units. I guess for everyone here, is it funny for you guys when you hear people, I don't know, mispronounce, or maybe is it funny for you guys to catch people off guard with how you might pronounce a name? I think, for example, a lot of people say Eula. Zajef says Oila, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I think I guess I'll just speak from the perspective of the Chinese names because I didn't grow up speaking Mandarin. I grew up speaking both English and Mandarin because my parents are from China. But I think it's interesting to see people like try to learn how to pronounce the Mandarin names correctly. It doesn't really bother me too much to hear people pronounce Mandarin wrong because I know how difficult it is to like pronounce Mandarin correctly. It's like if someone says like Xingqiu instead of Xingqiu, like I'm not really going to mind that much. But I think it's really interesting and really cool to see people try to like pronounce these things correctly because I see it as them trying to like learn more about Chinese culture and whatever, which I think is always a nice thing.
Agree. Genshin as a cultural vector has been like mind blowing to me.
Hmm. Especially with characters like let me think, who are some good characters? Shit, what was I cannot remember her name for the life of me. The opera girl.
Oh, Yunji.
Yunjin, yeah.
Oh.
I just mind blanked on her name for like half a second. But like her opera performance in the event, I think that was just like so cool. Because when I was in high school, I went to China. I was in this like field trip that was sponsored by the Chinese government. So what they do is like children of Chinese overseas immigrants, they can go back to China and they'll have like a 1 or 2 week like all
My
expenses
friends
paid
did
for.
this
Like
too.
yeah. So I was back there and they had this one stop where they just had like this Chinese opera performance, and I thought that was really cool. And then hearing that again in Genshin, I thought was like super cool.
I agree. It was like it was a factor of almost like your trip going back to China, right? Like things that we don't even know about our own cultures being
Exactly. Yeah.
shown back at us in a way that was like celebratory rather than caricaturing. It was like incredibly refreshing. Yeah. And also it's like it's adapted to the modern age. Like so many of the things are like fused with European or whatever other Western and Southern like cultures from all over the world are fusing together into the modernization, like globalized kind of version that we're seeing. And Yunjin's opera is actually a really good example of like rock music mixed in with Beijing opera. Like I'd never expected to hear that, and it was a lot better than I would have imagined if someone had just said that to me. So it was eye-opening for not just like people who are not Chinese, but also people who are like Chinese diaspora.
Yeah, definitely.
I think for me, it's been very interesting so far. At least as an Asian person, it's kind of like all adjacent for me. At least I'm Asian American. You know, kind of had random exposure to lots of different pieces of Chinese or Japanese, and obviously like European stuff. But Sumeru was a little different for me. The names caught me off guard. A lot of like the cultural things were not as expected. The music has been wonderful as well. I'm hearing sounds I've never heard before. But yeah, I mean, how about you, Zajef? Anything?
Not really. I heckin' love Tainari.
I mean, it's kind of interesting. You do say like a lot of names much different.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know what Zajef says for this, but the thing that throws people off in my chat the most isn't when I say Chinese names, but more so when I say Mondstadt. Like everyone else says Mondstadt, but I was taught by a German person to say Mondstadt pretty early on, and it stuck. And I can't.
Mondstadt.
Mondstadt.
Noted.
Okay. Noted. Okay, that's interesting though, and I think it is like again kind of what we were talking about earlier, just people learning more about different cultures and whatnot, which is really cool.
Yeah, the cross pollination.
Just you wait until I start calling her Jeanne.
John Dark. Oh no.
Yeah, I mean,
Jeanne.
It is literally John Dark.
yeah, like it's very much seems to be based on the Jeanne d'Arc. So it's I guess I gotta call her Jeanne. Let's go.
Are you not giving the 1.0 characters enough love?
Okay, sorry, but I am so excited for Fontaine. It's gonna be a fucking banger.
No.
I am so excited.
Fontaine. How do you say Ying? How do you say Liwer? Because everyone call it Liwei.
Oh, Liyue. Oh my god, your
Yeah, but
Canton pronunciation throws me off so much. It's like not incorrect, it's just so different.
But everyone say fucking Liwei, and I'm like,
Yeah. That was one of the ones where I was like, well, so that's the thing is I learned that there are official like localization guides that the actors have to follow. And I think they standardized on Liwei. I think that's why we ended up here. Because it was just easier for all of the voice actors to all say Liwei instead of teaching everyone how to say Liyue.
yeah,
but people with a different native tongue, like it can be harder or easier for them to pronounce certain sounds, so you have to give them some leeway with their pronunciation.
Exactly. There you go. I just think it's funny that Tenten's chat clowns him for pronunciations that are absolutely like they're not incorrect. They're just a different dialect.
Yeah,
like that's a different kind of Chinese you're listening to. It doesn't mean it's not Chinese.
Honestly, I feel so weird sometimes speaking like how I don't know, like what the names are inspired from, like in like how I guess quote unquote they're supposed to be pronounced. Like Kandaka, Candace, Tainari, Tignani.
Oh, I still never
Raiden Shogun.
I don't know Candice.
Raiden Shogun, right? I feel so weird sometimes because like I don't know, I speak a little bit of Japanese and
yeah, do you ever
it feels even weirder with
properly?
Sumeru.
Do you ever speak the Japanese name properly, like Raiden Shogun? Or is it,
That's
is
my
it
habit. Yeah.
Is it Raiden, right? Instead of Raiden. What's how I heard it? Yeah.
I don't know.
Raiden Shogun.
It's not too far
Shogun
off from Japanese, honestly. Like, I don't think there's anything super egregious.
Oh, I was listening to Ying says Shinobu earlier.
Shinobu.
Yeah,
Shinobu. Yeah.
like that. I've never
That's
said it
true.
like that.
I feel weirder about the Japanese one only because like I'm not Japanese. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm probably still mispronouncing it, but I think I have I have more conviction here.
Wait, it's Arataki Ito.
Arataki Ito.
Arataki Ito.
Arataki Ito.
Arataki. I only feel more comfy with it because one of my two best friends in high school growing up was Japanese, and her name was Meri. And so it's spelled Meri, and so people would say Mary, and she was very clear with me that she preferred for people to say Meri slightly incorrectly,
Meri, right?
and for people to call her Mary.
Yeah, Japanese is Meri.
Yeah. So then just because of her one opinion, it like shaped my, I think, pronunciation effort through the rest of my life. Like I would rather people try and butcher it than to not try at all.
I mean, I think it's just one of the most interesting things about Genshin, like the cultural mixing stuff.
Yeah.
But
I do think that like yeah,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, on the Mary thing, like, I do agree. Like, I much prefer someone like try, because it just shows like that they're making an effort, that they're like at least trying to like learn more about your culture, right? Which is always a nice thing. It's like when your culture just completely gets ignored, that's like not a good feeling. So,
but I also think we've been conditioned on the internet to feel very cringy when we see like a certain type of person. I don't know, tip their fedora, unsheath their katana, and start speaking Japanese. I think we all worry that we give off those vibes, right?
okay, that's fair.
I mean, honestly, this topic, like, it can swing pretty dark pretty quickly. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen like the takes on Twitter about like Genshin and culture, but I don't know. At least for
Don't
me,
worry.
yeah, I don't want to get into it unless you guys want to. But
Forget.
no, I'm not. I don't want to go back into the Eula and like Shinyan era of discourse ever again. I'm done.
God.
But
Ingradia. Wait, is that how you say it? I don't know. What is that emote called? Enlarge? Enlarge?
on guard.
On guard?
Pronouncing it wrong still.
I don't know. Maybe it's not
Okay.
no.
Well,
En garde.
What is it? Englave?
En garde.
Englave. I say it as like Engradia.
we are getting pretty close to time here, so before we go or anything like that, Ying, do you have any questions for us? Maybe to pick our brain.
To pick your brains. All right. I guess in actuality, so there's two. It's 2-in-1 question. I would be curious for each of you to list out your number one like character overall in the game in terms of like writing personality, like personal affinity, versus the character that you would say you play the most, that you see on field, whether or not you main them, the one that shows up the most.
Okay, Tenten, just say it.
That's a
Just
good
say
question.
My chat already say, okay, the character that I like the most in terms of personality is Venti. The character I play the most is Xiangling.
We already know. Okay, Zajef, how about you?
Yeah, I feel like very, very often the Hoyoverse writers feel the need to make the like characters too perfect. Like
Mhm.
they give them unrealistic characters, and so generally the more a character is present in the story, the less I like them.
Oh, Xinyan.
Because they get over finessed.
It's not even finessed, it's just like it feels like they're trying too hard to make it fit into the like neat trope that they have for the character,
Mhm.
and that
Maybe their
anything outside of
flaws
that
are
gets
rounded out too well.
smothered. And yeah,
They
it's
don't
just,
feel real to you.
they feel too artificial.
Interesting.
But one character that I feel they didn't do that as much with was Yunzin. It feels a lot like, because honestly, like it looks to me, it looks like Yunzin is a character that was born out of a desire to like be like, hey, this is cool Chinese culture. Look at it, it's cool. And I don't know, I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah. And to your point, she is kind of a normie. Like she is just there to sing and hang out with her friends. Like she's just like some girl, you know?
Yunjin is a normie.
What's your most
Yeah,
played
yeah,
then,
Army.
Zajef?
I get
Let
what
us
you mean,
know.
Yeah. It's like how Eula have this entire backstory of I must take vengeance, and it'd be like, but why?
Yeah, you could argue Yinjin has no trope.
Yeah, Ninja have no backstory arc.
Okay, wait. Other part of
flashback.
the question, Zajef.
Yeah. I probably play Singso the most.
Oh, hell yeah.
He's the best unit in the game.
He's the
so
strongest
he's,
in the game.
like, unless I'm doing a challenge, he's always in one of my two teams. There's just no reason why I wouldn't put him in one of my two teams.
Your chat
He's always
voting
in my
on it.
overworld team. Yeah. Like, oh my god. I've been doing an account recently where my chat decides shit. And they voted to get Chongyun from the Lantern Rite instead of Singso. So now I don't have Singso.
Oh,
You know-
man.
And I got
You know-
Chongyun.
For any Zajef viewers, whenever he does get Xingqiu, maybe you just let him only level him up to like level 40 or something like that.
Only 4-star artifacts.
You just
Damn,
make
really
using him pain
torturing
for him.
Zajef.
You can't go over 100 ER, okay? No ER on your artifact.
That's
Alright.
fucked
And then
up.
Ayzel, how about you?
Character that I like the most, I still trying to decide between Layla and Yoimiya. I think ultimately I would probably say Yoimiya. I just think that Yoimiya is a very wholesome character. She's just like, she likes kids. She likes fireworks.
I
She
love
just-
Okay,
it
hang
too.
on, wait, what did
Yeah.
you just say?
Jesus.
I love it.
What the?
Pyromaniac wife material. That's what Yoimiya is.
True. But yeah, I think Yoimiya is just a cool character. She seems fun. And character that I play the most, I think it's probably Xingqiu as well, like Zajef said.
Yep.
Although I think you could like someone that like watches me play could also argue that Kazuha might take that place, but it's probably still Xingqiu.
My favorite character that's like fleshed out in the stories. Thematically, I think I like Ganyu probably the most. I think there's something a little charming about her being a workaholic and then not really having a place in the world. Like something a little darker underneath, kind of like Klee, I guess, where their character trope is a little different from their backstory. And like Zajef says, they don't show in the story often. At least for the Golden Archipelago, I like Klee's input and story. As for the character I like the most, I think the answer would have been Kazuha for both if he wasn't so like main character-y. I don't know. Something about the Inazuma story really kind of just turned off a lot of my enjoyment of the Inazuma.
It revolved around him. I feel you so much.
Yeah, he's about a bankai.
Okay.
He got his Zanpakuto, and his Zanpakuto talked to him and like, okay, now I'll give you a bankai.
Literally, you defeat Raiden's invincible sword through the power of friendship.
Yes.
You know what? Some people love that stuff.
Yeah, it's bankai.
And also, he's the one with the complicated family history with multi-generational like trauma.
He's a wandering traveler trying to discover himself in the world.
He's all of the above. That's Kazuha.
All right. Well, I think that will wrap up everything for us here. But it's been a pleasure having you, Ying. I personally have been a really big fan for a long time.
I'm happy that you. My heart rate has calmed down.
Hopefully, we're less scary.
Slightly less intimidating.
And so, this has been the 20th podcast. We're always happy to have you guys come and listen. If you want to catch us live, you'll probably have to follow us on Twitter. Sometimes we're late. It happens. But you can find me in the Discord for Kaching Mains. You can also catch me on Twitter at twitter.com/Artesians with 2 S's at the end. If you have any suggestions, or maybe you have a content creator you'd like us to contact to come on as a guest, please feel free to DM me anywhere. I'm always looking for new suggestions and thank yous and all that stuff. And I'll pass it off to Ayzel. What are you doing next? Any big projects? Anything interesting?
Right now I'm mostly just working on like the administrative side of stuff. For those that don't know, I'm a CS student and I'm kind of just making some stuff for KQM based on my CS knowledge. It's pretty fun, but not doing anything too TC related at the moment.
So where can they find your flaming hot tweets?
Twitter.com/Ayzel_0. And yes, you can see some flaming hot takes.
Seriously, guys, if you guys like PvPing on Twitter, that is a good place to find it.
No.
Tenten, anything interesting coming up? What are you planning? What's up?
I'm actually planning on making JRPG content. I don't know why, but I just feel like it. So I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 a bit. And you know what the funny thing is? Like everyone say the Final Fantasy 14 story is like one of the best in gaming history, but I just press the skip button on every single dialogue anyway.
Actually,
wow, you would openly admit that. Brave.
Yeah. I press skip. I'm a Final Fantasy 14 skipper. Base.
Have you talked to Code or Fob, Tenten?
I know everyone like hates that shit.
I'm so starved for a skip button that I'd probably do that too.
My brother's actively like, what's the word? Boycotting Genshin because he refuses to come back until they give you a skip button. Yeah, it's like that's the one feature.
I wish there's a skip button.
Okay. Sorry, I was gonna say, have you talked to Code or Fob at all, Tenten? They've been grinding Maple Story like
Maple
crazy.
Story. I did. I know Code. The first thing he typed to me is I spend like $3,000 in Maple Story. So there
He
is
plays
this
like 25
pet...
characters or something.
Well, yeah, I have 42 characters. Fine, the
Oh.
character in Maple doesn't matter, but like basically, there's this thing in Maple called like a back pet, and it's basically a pet that like suck up everything for you. And then the first thing he typed to me is, oh, and they're like $100 each. To buy it, to own a pet is $100 each, but then you have to keep them alive every month, which is another $15. So you have to pay $100 and then $15 per month if you want to use it. The first thing he typed to me is like, yeah, I have 6 of those.
Yeah,
Okay.
$600 down the drain.
Zajef, where can we find more of you? Any big projects? I know you were planning to release, I think, Yao Yao post-release. So that'll be
I
fun.
recorded that today. That's hopefully gonna come out not too long from now, but I'm gonna wait on my editors, make sure I don't overwork them too much. Just just a reasonable amount of overworking.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where
so you
can they
got
find
RNG,
more
so
of you, Zajef?
You can find more of me at twitch.tv/Zajef77. Zajef77 on YouTube. And yeah, I'm considering also making a video out of AI generated Genshin characters and rating them. Because
Wow.
yeah,
Please commission
Xenon-
like an artist to draw them or something.
yeah,
Use AI to
I
draw
will
it
do
too.
Oh god.
no, I would rather shoot myself. Thank you. In game.
Shoot
But
yourself
I would
with
be down actually to commission an artist to draw it.
That'll be fun. Zajef77 original community OC incoming, guys.
Hell yeah.
And then, of course, our guest, Ying.
Yeah.
Are you working on anything special? Maybe where can we find you or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I'm Ying_verse, YING_verse, everywhere except Twitch, where I'm just Ying. I realize now how confusing that is. I'm deep in the Honkai hole right now. Like if it weren't for chat gating me from like just binging the whole game, because they were like, you have to stream every chapter. So I was like, okay, all right, that'll slow me down.
Oh really? I would just press skip.
Just stream more for it.
I play for story. Thank you very much. And the Honkai story is very good. So I'm on chapter 16 right now. That's
It's
my
okay, I
hole that I'm
completely
in.
understand. I think like every time I open up the Kitchen Main staff chats, it's literally nothing but Honkai spam or like Alchemy Stars spam or like
That sounds about right.
just any random Genshin game or any like random gacha game spam.
Yeah.
That will be all from us, guys. Thank you so much. And if you want to catch our short little Q&A sections after the podcast, you'll have to catch us live next time. Keep an eye out on Twitter for whenever we plan to schedule another one, but it might be a little while before we get another one because I don't think there's much to
You in
talk
2
about
months
left,
for the
right?
next podcast.
Yeah.
Is what they said.
We'll see you in season 3, guys. Thank you.
We'll try to get one soon.